Find Your People by Jennie Allen. This won 2023 Christian Book of the Year. But is it a book that's actually worth the time it takes to read it? Let's talk about it. So awards are not normally something that I pay attention to. Most of the time I operate under the assumption if a lot of people like something, it's probably not that good. But I know a lot of people use awards like this to help kind of cull their reading list and decide what books they should be reading. So as a officially licensed booktuber now, I kind of feel a responsibility to pay more attention to these and to read some of the books that interest me and let you know kind of what I thought and if I think they're worth your time. That's what led me to Find Your People. Honestly, I had seen this book a couple of different times at the library, and it just never really stood out to me. It's like Building Deep Community in a Lonely World. Honestly, I don't feel like we're super lacking in community right now. And so I wasn't just like, oh yeah, I need to read this book. But then I come to find out, hey, this was the 2023 Christian Book of the Year. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess we'll check it out. I was not really expecting much, but in the first two chapters, I literally hit one, this revelation, and then two, this image that were both just like, dang, son. She has this quote where she says, "How arrogant are we to think that even though the God of the universe exists in community, our little fragile finite selves can survive without it." Okay, wow, I haven't really ever thought of it that way before, but sure, if you're going to put it like that, all right. Next up was the image, this right here. We have acquaintances, pare down to a village, pare down to 2 to 5 close friends. And the 2 to 5 close friends is what we want, but we're skipping the village part, which is a diverse community of consistent, interconnected people. Really, that image forms kind of the basis of the whole book and the whole thesis that she has, which is we skip this mid-level tier of a village and a consistent community that we should be doing life with, then we don't end up with the benefit of that, which is the 2 to 5 really, really close friends. We all want the really, really close friends who know us super well, but we're skipping the necessary step to get there, which is this village and community living. The foundation of the book is she uses 5 objects to talk about how to build that village life. So the 5 objects that she talks about are a fire, an open door, an anvil, a shovel, and a table. And then each object comes with its own goal and its own barrier. So fire represents the deep conversations that always happen when you're sitting around a fire and you're in close proximity. The goal of fire is that proximity. It's actually being physically close to other people, because the physical closeness helps enable the emotional and the spiritual closeness and connection. So that's the goal of the fire. The barrier to that is the busyness that we have, that we all carry on a day-to-day basis. Next up, we had the open door, and the goal here is so much transparency that the few very trustworthy people that I know really know what's really going on in any area of my life at any given time. They're connected. That level of transparency where someone else really knows what's really going on at any point in time. And the barrier to this kind of transparency is pain and shame. Because of pain and because of shame, we don't share things and we don't build these deep relationships. Next up was the anvil, and this represents the forging that comes from the accountability of being in relationship with good people. So the goal here is real accountability, not like, oh, I feel so bad, I didn't do great this week, and your buddy's like, yeah, man, I know, me too, this kind of sucks, so okay, well, I guess we'll see you next week, and just kind of expect the same thing. This is not a support group, this is not people to just listen to us complain so that we feel better. This is people that we can confess stuff to, who will then address that confession with truth and with God's word and with the difficult truth that we need to hear in order for us to be transformed and get better. The barrier to that accountability is always going to be pride, and thinking either that we don't need help or that I shouldn't take help from them or that my problem isn't as big as someone else's problem, and just getting annoyed. And then next we had the shovel, which represents the work that we can do together. The goal with this is to have a shared purpose and something bigger than ourselves. And so obviously for Christians, the easy answer for that is a local church. But even if you're not a Christian, we all need something more than ourself to make life worthwhile and make it meaningful and make it actually matter in any way. So the barrier to that is always going to be the small talk and the shallow talk that keeps us from focusing on those bigger things. And then finally, we have the table, which just represents the consistency of daily meals and daily sharing life. The goal with the whole table is that consistency. It's that it happens day in and day out and day in and day out. What Jennie talks about is we're not designed to live alone with bursts of community and connectedness. We're designed to live in connectedness with spurts of being alone. But the biggest thing that gets in the way of this consistency is conflict with other people. One of my favorite quotes from the whole book was Jeannie's, I think it was her brother-in-law, but he was like, yeah, he said, village life sounds great until you realize you're surrounded by a bunch of cannibals. And I was just like, oh my gosh, dude, that's like, I've literally never heard it put better than that. So conflict gets in the way of this consistency. So we have to learn how to deal with conflict. These 5 areas, these 5 objects, the fire, the open door, the anvil, the shovel, and the table, are kind of the basis that Jennie uses to help show you how to develop village life. And so within all of these, she goes super deep into each one, and she gives questions that you can ask and suggestions for like a game plan type thing to move forward. And then in the last few chapters of the book, she kind of gives her big picture wrap up stuff on this idea of finding family that isn't family. If you're not living like around your family, or your family is just not in a great place or whatever, you can find friends that function as family. And then she talks about the 7 biggest tactics that the enemy uses to keep us from community overall, right? And so she kind of wraps everything up with that. Overall, the book is just filled with really, really good, really helpful stuff, and I liked it a lot. But just because I liked it doesn't mean that I think it should have won Christian Book of the Year. So now we get to the real question. Should this book have been the 2023 Christian Book of the Year? Honestly, I'm on the fence. So on the one hand, this was not the most impactful Christian book that I've read this year, by a long shot. On the other hand, I literally can't think of anybody who wouldn't benefit from reading it. Loneliness is an epidemic, and the paradox of modern Christian churches is that we should be the best at relationship, and in some ways we're the worst people at building and maintaining relationships. Definitively, I don't know that I would say that it was the Christian Book of the Year, but definitively I would say if you were interested, you should read it, and you would be better off for having read it, because it is a very, very well done book. And if you do what she says, you will become a better friend, and then over the course of time, you will reap the rewards of being a better friend, which is having better friends for yourself in your own life. And obviously, the best kind of friend is a bookworm who gives you way more recommendations than you could ever possibly read. So in the spirit of that, I decided to go and look at all of the previous winners of Book of the Year from the Christian Book Awards and share with you the ones that I have read. So speed round for that. Here we go. 2017 winner was Shaken by Tim Tebow. I definitely recommend this book. I'm not even a football guy, but I still enjoyed it. I've read all but his most recent book and liked all of them. The 2014 winner was Crazy Busy by Kevin DeYoung. This book is freaking excellent. This is one of those like small but mighty books, and it might actually wreck your life if you read it, so enter with caution. 2011 winner was Bonhoeffer by Eric Metaxas. You have to read this book. It's literally not optional, along with basically everything else that Eric Metaxas has ever written, because he's amazing. The 2010 winner was The Hole in Our Gospel by Richard Stearns. This book was mind-blowing. It was literally so challenging and like paradigm shifting. It was really, really good. 2009 winner was the ESV Study Bible. This is one of my favorite Bibles ever. I freaking love this Bible. It's on the shelf right over there. I have a whole video about my experience reading this Bible, so you should check that out. 2004 winner was The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. Honestly, I pretty much hated this book. Like, I feel like I need to go back and give it another shot. Right now, my attitude from the first time that I read it a bunch of years ago is like, just no, skip it. I didn't like it at all. It was terrible. So if you have a different experience, let me know. Let me know if I should go back and try that one again, or if I should just like move on with my life. 2002 winner was The Prayer of Jabez by Bruce Wilkinson. Loved it. Awesome. And then the last winner that I have read was the 2000 winner, which is Fresh Wind, Fresh Fire by Jim Cymbala. This book is freaking essential. Everybody should go out and buy all of Jim Cymbala's books, because like, that guy literally just so fundamentally changed how I understand the Holy Spirit and the work and the power of the Spirit of God in my life, and what that looks like in my life and in the life of the church. It just, I can't say enough good things about Jim Cymbala. You should read everything that he's written. There you have it. Christian Book of the Year 2023. I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you found it useful. If you need even more recommendations, I'm going to link this video here. This is the best books I've read so far in 2023. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, leave a comment saying Ultra Bookworm, because if you watched all the way to the end, that's what you are. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.